In episode 6, we are going to show how to make the bird fly. So in order for the bird to fly, there are two forces that are going to be required to happen on the bird. The first one, which you may be familiar with, is gravity. So that's going to pull the bird down with an acceleration. And the next one then is speed. So speed here is whenever we want the bird to flap its wings, it's going to fly upwards, and it's going to be a constant rate. So really these are just two numbers that represent moving the bird in certain directions. Then we're going to show you how to implement the flapping method. And finally then, as we flap, or as gravity works, we're going to show how the position of the bird is going to get changed. So here's the code, okay? So it's the same class as before. We have our bird class, and we've introduced two new constants, one called gravity and one called flap speed, okay? And these constants are just sort of tweaked to suit the game. So you can actually tweak these yourselves and make the gravity faster or slower. So I'm going to run this and you will see. So here is the bird at the starting point, and when I start flapping, you can see that it falls down out of the sky, but when I click a button, it goes upwards. So if I was to change the value of gravity to something like 0.3, so that's half the value, and run it now, then when I press flap, it's like a bird is on the moon. It's got less gravity working on it. So we've just tweaked the values, like I said, to make it suit the original game Flappy Birds. Okay, so then talking to the rest of the code, we're initializing the speed and the gravity to be 0. So that at the start of the game, as you can see, it doesn't actually do anything. It just stays where it is. And we're also adding a sound here. So that sound is represented by a little file here, flap.wave, which is from this URL. And in the game method, which is where the bird object is initialized, this is the instance of the bird, we are now also registering a new handler, which is a key handler. So previously we registered a draw handler, which handles the refresh drawing of the screen. And the key handler is going to be one that allows keys to be detected. So the key in question is actually passed through here as a variable. This is all just built into the simple GUI library. So this is just how it gets called. And you can actually do some detection on what key has been pressed. In our case, we don't care what key has been pressed. We're just going to always, whenever we press a key, flap the bird. And so if we look at the flap method, which is part of the bird class, that is starting to do some things with gravity and speed. So it's setting gravity to its value and speed to the flap speed value, okay? And then we're also just playing the sound. So this is how you play the sound. You rewind it first and play it so that it's always playing from the start. But we've added this new function called update position, okay? And this is called 60 times a second when the draw function is called. And the update position function, it's going to change the center Y value of the bird, okay? And it's going to reduce the Y value by the actual speed. So that is going to move the bird up the screen. And it's doing this 60 times a second. So when you set the speed to be, in this case, 8.5, it's going to increase the Y coordinate on the bird by 8.5 pixels every time this function is called. And ignoring this bit for a moment, the next thing it does is it's going to reduce the speed by the gravity. Okay, so gravity is going to always be acting on the speed. So those things kind of counteract each other. So for every time this method is called 60 times a second, it's going to be reducing the Y value by the speed and reducing this overall speed by 0.6. So that means that you start off going up a wee bit, but then that very quickly, 60 times a second, gets reduced to 0 and then finally pulls you down. Okay, so that kind of is a description of how the gravity and speed work together. And then this little bit of code here is literally just checking the Y position against the game, the height of the game minus the bird height over 2, which is really where the ground level is, and it's then setting the speed and gravity to 0. So whenever you hit the ground, you stop moving. and that's all that's happening.